Lucious taking over the transmission. Instead of listening to the same old rotation on the radio, you can listen to stories from the nightmare realm. Yeah, come on, and listen to a tale that will make your skin crawl. Tonight's story will make you rethink the choices you will ever make. In this story, a gypsy will seek out much more than revenge. She is so gorgeous that she will eat your heart out. Welcome to Nightmare Circus Tales. Embrace yourself for a tale that I call Temptress Origins. In the late 1800s, an Irish druid fled Ireland because the land wars engulfed the land and became washed with tides of blood. And soon mobs were put together to wipe out all pagans because it went against their beliefs. They believed that their magic would curse the land. The druid's name was Liam. He was a powerful sorcerer, and during this time, they forced religion to cause fear to gain control. So Liam came across a ship of pirates that was going to Egypt. They were seeking to find a pharaoh's treasure that was said to give you immortality. Liam used this opportunity to his advantage, telling the ship's captain that a witch has hexed the voyage and the ship would sink before it even made landfall. And the only way they would have a safe journey was to have him board. Therefore, he was a powerful druid and he could ward off the spell. Pirates during this time were very superstitious, but they weren't stupid, so in order for the captain to believe him, he wanted proof that Liam was in fact a druid. Therefore, if he wasn't, not only would he have insulted them, Liam would meet his demise for even approaching them. But Liam didn't fear them because he knew what he was capable of doing. So he would point to the sky, his eyes turning black as coal. The dark sky began to light up with bolts of lightning. The sea started to move with waves rocking the ship violently back and forth. The pirates cowered with fear. Then the captain shouted for him to stop! Liam's eyes went back to the blue color they were before. And the sky was calm, and the sea was still. The journey to Egypt was underway. Several days and nights would pass, but eventually they would make it to the Red Sea and would finally make landfall at the mystical land of Egypt. At Voodoo Circus Studios, we believe that creativity is magic, and we need your help to continue the creativity. Voodoo Circus Studios has 3 rings of entertainment: fright, fantasy, and music. My name is William Soundz, and I'm the writer and director here at Voodoo Circus Studios. My team and I create what is known as audio theater. A lot like Temptress Origins, we are going to have many stories coming in the near future. And we need your help for the production of the shows. So I am offering you an ad-free show on Patreon. It's simple. All you have to do is go to patreon.com and search Nightmare Circus Tales. For only $5, you get the latest Nightmare Circus Tales episode ad-free, and you get to support the creativity behind the fright. We want to thank you ahead of time for all the support for the art of creation. Once they arrived at shore, Liam and the pirates went their separate ways. Liam traveled for a few days through the dry, hot sands of the Sahara Desert. Sand drifts blew across the ground, making it hard to walk. He became very dehydrated and desperately needed water. Normally, as a druid, he would be able to conjure elements, but he was physically weak and mentally drained, so he had to fight through his weakening body to find food and water to get his strength back. After sweating out all of his bodily fluids, his skin looked like a dried prune. When he finally arrived in Cairo, he passed out in front of a gypsy belly dancer by the name of Sophia. She ran to get someone that was a part of her caravan to help her get Liam into her wagon. Several weeks went by as Sophia nourished Liam back to health. Even though she was doing a good deed, her father didn't approve because he was an outsider and he didn't want to chance a stranger being involved and knowing their secrets. Sophia and her family were not only just gypsies that entertained, they were powerful avatars to the ancient gods, and Sophia's father didn't want to risk their secrets to an outsider. So, she was instructed to send him on his way. As Liam was getting ready to leave, he heard Sophia's father yelling. When he looked in the direction of her father, he noticed that a rebel had a sword to his throat. See, little did Liam know that these gypsies were powerful magicians as well, who served the great and powerful gods of Egypt, but he would soon find out. Liam screamed out, "Let him go!" But the rebel didn't even blink an eye in his direction. So he went towards the rebel, but Sophia's mother stopped him, telling him this is not his fight. He had a look of confusion in his eyes. He saw that Sophia was being held back by two other rebels. He watched her as tears fell down her face. Just then, the rebel who had her father shouted out, "Now you will die, witch!" He then started to run the blade across her father's neck. Just as Liam saw blood start to run bright red down his chest, the rebel out of nowhere dropped to his knees in pain. He screamed in agony. When Sophia's mother looked at Liam, his eyes were black and cold. She looked back towards the rebel, watching in shock as he raised the sword to his own chest. The rebel screamed in terror just before he impaled himself with his own sword. Instantly, the other two rebels were convinced that one of the gypsy witches made him do it. So one of the rebels punched Sophia, and the other one threw her onto the ground like she was a bag of bones. Liam stood in front of the rebels, daring them to come closer as he shouted, "It wasn't them, it was me." The second rebel attacked Liam with his sword, but Liam evaded out of the way, grabbing him by the throat. Liam's eyes were black and started to run tears of blood, and the rebel fought hard to get away, but ended up stabbing himself just as the first rebel did. In a fit of rage, Liam pulled the sword out of the second rebel's limp body as the third rebel was trying to attack, but Liam sliced him across his torso, and blood ran from his body like it was the Nile River. He then ran to Sophia's father as quickly as he could. Her father was turning blue while on his last breath, Liam caught upon the Celtic god Dagda and asked to spare the life of Sophia's father. Liam muttered in prayer while grabbing the wound on her father's throat. Liam felt her father's pulse slow and his oxygen fade. The clouds darkened and the thunder began to roll. Liam's eyes rolled back as Sophia's father gasped for air. Liam felt faint, and the family gathered around them both. Sophia's father whispered in her ear, "Bring him with us. He is one of us." Several years have come and passed, and Sophia's family accepted Liam as their own. They showed him the teachings of the Egyptian gods, and in return, Liam taught them about the Celtic gods. They soon moved to America to have a traveling carnival filled with entertainment such as music, dancing, magic, and even fortune-telling. They would travel from New Orleans to Mississippi, performing and embracing this new land. It was the mid-1930s. Liam and Sophia had a daughter that was getting ready to turn 21. Her name was Amayah. She had gorgeous long red hair and blue eyes like her father, and a defined face like her mother's. When you looked into her eyes, you would find yourself in a trance because of her beauty. Her body was curvy, and she had thick dancer thighs. Amayah was a belly dancer, just like her mother. Amayah and her family's carnival consisted of music and belly dancing, which was included in a mesmerizing magic show. There were 3 musicians that traveled with them as well. They weren't part of the family, but the family discovered their talent in New Orleans, and they have been traveling with the caravan of gypsies ever since. Amayah would put on a hypnotic show with her exotic belly dancing. Her body would move fluidly to the music that the band would play behind her, moving her curves like ocean waves. She would include pyro illusions and disappear and reappear in front of the audience, leaving them in wonder. In between shows, Amayah's grandparents would sell enchanted Egyptian jewelry said to protect, give positive energy, and stimulate the pineal gland. And the musicians would switch instruments in between shows to show their audience how diverse their skills were. Liam and Sophia would host old carnival games such as bottle ring toss. They also had a metal milk jug game where they would have to knock down all 3 milk jugs with 1 ball, and a hatchet throwing game to give a real challenge. Meanwhile, in a tent, Amayah would use her gift of fortune telling to amuse curious patrons. It was just a week away from Mardi Gras, and the gypsy entertainers were headed back to New Orleans to join the festivities. On their way back, they would rest at certain locations, then continue early in the morning. In this case, they were on a quick route back to Louisiana between Route 61 and 49 in Clarksdale, Mississippi at the crossroads. The road was made of dirt, and the grassy land off of the road went for miles, making it easy to pull off the road and set up for camp. It was close to midnight, and the gypsy family was camping next to a fire. An old pickup truck was traveling down the old dirt road, and the driver caught a glimpse of Amayah. She always grabbed men's attention. This guy was a sleaze. When the gypsy was in Florida, he tried to make a pass at Amayah and was embarrassed by being denied. Meanwhile, Amayah sees so many people, she would never remember him. In his pickup, there were 2 other men with him. He convinced them that the gypsies were witches headed to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, and they needed to be stopped from spreading curses. Now, mind you, Amayah's family protected against the darkness. There were witches, but they were by no means evil. But people fear what they do not understand. The 3 men slowly got out of the pickup, grabbing their rifles. And as the family was resting unaware next to the fire, they were ambushed. They fired shots rapidly. As two of the musicians ran away, Amayah screamed for them to help, but they didn't listen. She watched in terror as her grandparents and her mother and father were shot to death. The man she rejected in Florida bashed her in the face with the end of his rifle. When she fell to the ground, he towered over her, saying, "I bet you don't remember me, witch. This is what you get for turning me down, you temptress witch." Her eyes were blurry, but she noticed a young man carrying a guitar down the road. She muttered, "Help me," when the man turned around. They fired off a round in the sky, scaring the young man off. Then he pointed the gun to her chest and pulled the trigger. They ran to the truck, shouting in joy as Amayah was slowly fading away. On her last breath, she called out to Set, the Egyptian god of destruction, begging him to let her live. When he appeared, he told her that she can seek revenge, but in return, she must seek out souls for him. She accepted. Then instantly she became a powerful entity. Her nails grew long and sharp. Her eyes turned coal black and her teeth became razor sharp. She then walked over to her family. She kissed them on their forehead as tears ran down her face. She then belted out a scream that would make your blood turn cold.
You know, I have to say that one thing for sure about writing stories is it's amazing because it's like you can create your own realms, your own universe. And what's even better about turning them into audio dramas is that I could either just do it like an audiobook or I could make it like a full-blown cinema or short film. And that's what I'm doing with Voodoo Circus. I mean, because I've always wanted to do Foley work, and I've always wanted to do music, and I've always wanted to tell stories. I always wanted to be a director. It's so much there. And in doing so, I have the power in these hands to be able to produce my own music, my own sound effects, and do my own storytelling and bring it to life for you guys. I want to thank everybody for your support. I really want you guys to check this out. Starting off small, I'm not going to lie to you, but it's going to be worth it in the end. You just got to get people that are really into this stuff. You never know. Maybe I could create another road to go down and actually make movies from these audio dramas, you know? Like they say, dream big, right? Remember, creativity is magic.
A few days have gone by, and the sleazy man and the other two poor excuses for men made their way to Bourbon Street, just in time to harass the people who came to enjoy the festivities of Mardi Gras. The sleaze who killed Amayah went inside the hotel to get a room and made the other two bring up their suitcases. It was midnight, but in New Orleans that meant the party was just getting started. While the two men were unloading the bags and suitcases, down a dark alley by the hotel, a voice called out to one of the men. The sound of the voice was hard to resist, so he went down the alley. He then suddenly came to a stop, and out of the darkness manifested a hand with sharp fingernails. The man was gasping for air as Amayah lifted him off of his feet. She glared into his eyes, manipulating his mind telepathically. A single tear fell down his cheek, and she threw him to the ground. In a zombie-like trance, he got up off the ground. His pupils were so small you could barely see them. He walked out of the alleyway, up to the other man, and pulled out his gun and shot him in the head without any hesitation or signs of expression. Just tears running from his eyes uncontrollably. After the man with the headshot wound took his last breath, he pointed the gun towards his own chin, and his pupils went back to normal. He then started to scream because he couldn't control his own arm, and the gun fired and he fell to the ground lifeless. Meanwhile, the sleazy man was upstairs in his room, waiting for a hooker to make his night more enjoyable. He was unaware of what happened to his henchman. Suddenly, a knock came at the door, and he opened the door saying to himself, "Well, it's about damn time." But he had come to find that no one was even there. As soon as he shut the door to the bathroom swung open violently. Though there was nothing there, the sleazy man approached the room with caution. As he walked into the bathroom, he noticed the shower curtain moving, so he grabbed the handle of his gun, ready to draw his weapon. He then quickly slid the curtain open just to find that nothing was there. The man was puzzled and confused. As he turned to walk out of the bathroom, he saw a woman on the bed. It was Amayah, the gypsy witch that he killed. She was on her knees in a sexy crimson short skirt, moving her index finger back and forth, signaling him to come closer. He chuckled and said, "Didn't I leave you for dead, you dirty witch?" A deep growl came from under her breath as her body contorted as she got off the bed. She then started dancing towards him, moving her hands and hips in the rhythm of waves. All the sleazy man could do was stand there hypnotized with a horrified look in his eyes. She approached him and said,
"You killed my family, and you killed me. Now your soul will pay for it for eternity."
With her razor-sharp nails, she pierced his throat. She ripped out his Adam's apple so he couldn't scream. She watched him suffer as he tried to take his last breath. Amayah started laughing as he faded away, and bloody tears ran from her dark, cold eyes.
At Voodoo Circus Studios, we believe that creativity is magic, and we need your help to continue the creativity. Voodoo Circus Studios has 3 rings of entertainment: fright, fantasy, and music. My name is William Soundz, and I'm the writer and director here at Voodoo Circus Studios. My team and I create what is known as audio theater. A lot like Temptress Origins, we are going to have many stories coming in the near future. And we need your help for the production of the shows. So I am offering you an ad-free show on Patreon. It's simple. All you have to do is go to patreon.com and search Nightmare Circus Tales. For only $5, you get the latest Nightmare Circus Tales episode ad-free, and you get to support the creativity behind the fright. We want to thank you ahead of time for all the support for the art of creation.
After Amayah watched him suffer as she had to watch her own family suffer, she went to the bayou to hide a cursed witch's totem to act as a key for her to manifest back into the human realm to collect souls, not only for Set, but for herself. And she wrote a chant on a piece of paper that would open the gateway to claim her victims. She was almost ready to leave the human realm, but there was one more thing she had to do. So she went back to the crossroads where her family was killed to find that same young man she asked to help her family was there. He was asking to make a deal to be a famous musician. Amayah manifested behind him, grabbing his guitar to tune it. Upon him taking it back, she said,
"For you to accept the deal, you must spread this message to receive the fame you are so passionate about."
She handed him a folded piece of paper with the chant on it, then turned towards the spirit Loa, Papa Legba. Legba would keep Amayah safe in the spirit realm, so Set wouldn't take her to the nightmare realm as his own. But Amayah would still have to collect souls for Set to keep him from enslaving her. For some, she would give them what they desire in place of their souls, but many others wouldn't be so fortunate. She targeted musicians because what she once loved so much betrayed her when it came to saving her and her family. She wants them to suffer as she did, but they must have a soul of a survivor and the heart of a fighter. Otherwise, she will sense greed, envy, and lust and kill them instantly, sending them to the nightmare realm so Set can harvest their souls.
Awaken the spirit of the Temptress witch.
To everyone in New Orleans, she will be remembered as the Bayou Gypsy. To bluesmen and rock stars of the past and present, she will always be remembered as the Temptress witch. Just remember, beware the chant. Do you hear that? Some lady trying to do the chant. I guess she's gonna find out the hard way.
Awaken the spirit of the tempting itch. Awaken the spirit of the Temptress witch. I take it back. Please, leave me alone.
Is it reality or just an illusion?
Story, music, and sound effects written by William Soundz. I want to give a special thanks to Ginny J as the Temptress witch Amayah. And another special thanks to SueAnn Zavarelle. And I want to give a special shout out to Christopher Neville for helping me with the drum part to the Nightmare Circus Tells theme song. Thank you for listening.